graph. Sorry, the task 1 IELTS essay, which is usually about graphs. Okay. Now, in task 1 of the IELTS test, there are several different types of tasks, but one of the most common is a graph. There's actually another lecture later today about progress essays, which, if you can stay for, we'll be looking at later. Okay? But today, for this half an hour, we're looking at graphs. So, you may know already, in the IELTS test, of course, you get 60 minutes to do the writing test. And in the 60 minutes, you have to write 2 essays. Task 1 and Task 2. Task 1 is the shorter essay. It lasts it lasts about 20 minutes. You can spend longer on it, but we recommend 20 minutes. And you have to write at least 150 words. Okay. This is, task 1 is always, if you're taking the academic paper, it is always an descriptive essay. Okay? So all you need to do is to describe what you see in the picture. You do not need to give your opinion or explain the information. Just describe it. Your criteria for the test is in how it is marked. There are four things that the examiner is considering. He's considering your task achievement, as in, have you answered the essay appropriately? Have you written an essay, as opposed to just lots of bullet points? Okay? And is your information relevant? Is there enough data there? The next part is the coherence and cohesion, which of course is the organization of the essay. The organization of the essay and how well it's written, how well the ideas link together. Okay. So for a task 1 essay, 150 words, your essay should probably have maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 paragraphs. But we'll look at that a bit more closely soon. The next part, of course, is the lexical resource, which means vocabulary. How many words do you use? How appropriate are they? Are you using them accurately? Are they spelled correctly? These things affect the vocabulary. And the other side is the grammar, of course, again. How many grammar structures are you using? Are they appropriate? Are they accurate? These kind of things. If you do the same grammar structure all the way through the essay, you probably don't get a very high mark, because the accuracy might be right, but the range of grammar you're using is quite low. Okay. So think about, before you take the test, think about expanding your use of grammar, the expressions you can use. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay, good. All right, well, we're just going to have a look at an example first, and then we're going to do a bit of practice with the graph I've just given you. So the graph you can see here. This is staff training provided by 4 companies. And we have them there on the graph: Company A, Company B, Company C, and Company D. Guys, this is a different graph from the handout. Okay, on the board. So, let's have a look. Generally, what's happening?
Increasing?
Yes, increasing. Thank you. Yes, so the amount of staff training provided at each company has increased over the period. From 2003 to 2006, the amount of staff training provided by each company increases. Do they all increase in the same way? No, exactly. So when you're writing, when I talk about data in the text, then of course you're writing different styles. You're getting different descriptions about different trends. So let's have a look. As I said, coherence is important, so let's have a look at that. Your essay should have 3 parts. It should have an introductory sentence. That's one sentence that tells the reader what the graph is. That's it. That's all it needs to do. And then you have your body, which is the biggest part of your paragraph. Sorry, your biggest part of your essay. And this contains all the details of your description. So we have an overview with the major trends, and then the details of the data. Okay. And then finally, there is a concluding sentence, okay, showing what's going on, which again maybe summarizes the information there. Okay. So looking at this one again, we've said, what we said about the overview in the body, I think this lady said here, all of them increase. That is the overview. Training provided at all 4 companies increased over the period. Okay. But let's look at company D, for example. What happened between 2003 and 2004? I'll try and answer with a full sentence.
It has dropped.
Yeah, well, it has dropped, but it dropped. Because remember, 2004 is the past. We're almost 2014, so it's 10 years ago. Yes, but between 2003 and 2004, staff training at company D decreased. Okay. Did it decrease in any other company at that time?
Company A decreasing.
Yes, good. Company A decreased, but very slightly, very small amount. Yeah. So company D decreases, obviously. Company A very slightly decreases. Okay. And then what happens in 2004 for company A and company D? With company A, what happens to company A?
From 2003 to...
From 2004. Yeah, it decreases. Staff training at company A decreases in 2004. What happens in company D?
Increased.
Make a sentence.
Company B.
Not the company. The company itself doesn't change.
It
So it's
increased.
staff training provided by company D. Because remember, guys, this is a lot of people make the same mistake. It's not the companies that's changing. It's the staff training at those companies. Okay? This is why people this is a common mistake in the test. People often just write down the line, but it's usually a much bigger thing. It's not company D, it's staff training provided by company D. Okay? So, let's just have a quick look at the first one then. Again, the first part of your graph essay should always be your introduction, which just describes what the graph is. So at the top of every task, you will get a description of an essay. Here is the description for this graph. The graph shows the percentage of staff trained by 4 different companies between 2003 and 2006. That's the original. Your introduction has to paraphrase this introduction. So the paraphrase reads, The diagram shows staff training by 4 companies for the period 2003 to 2006. So the meaning is the same, the language is similar, but it's different. It's your words. Okay? If you copy the text directly, you lose marks because your essay has no introduction. Okay? So it's very important to be able to paraphrase the language. Okay? Now, so the next part is the overview, which is maybe the first sentence of the body. And this again is the general trend. So as that lady said, all staff training provided at all companies increased. As it says here. Overall, the percentage of staff training at all 4 companies showed an upward trend. Or, all 4 companies saw a rise in the number of staff trained over the period. Again, same meaning, slightly different language. And then we go into the major trends and data. We say in 2003, companies A, B, and C had similar levels between 25 and 28, with company D significantly lower at 20%. By 2006, all companies had increased their training, with D rising substantially, etc., etc., etc. Okay, this is one example. Okay. So you've got the introduction, we know what the graph is. We have the overview, we know what the general trend is. Now we're going more specific. What's happening in each company? Okay. The last one then, the concluding sentence. In a task 1, this identifies the most important overall observation. It says, overall, it can be seen that staff training for all 4 companies increased, although following very different trends. Okay, which is quite true, because they did all increase, but, as we've already said, not in the same way. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about task 1? No? Great. Okay, good. In that case, guys, for the last 10 minutes, take a look at this. This is another example of a task 1 essay. It says the graph below shows in percentage terms the changing patterns of domestic access to modern technology in homes in the UK. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So, first of all, what does domestic access mean? Anybody know? No?
Using.
Yes, using where?
Using at home.
Yes, exactly. So domestic access means people with these things in their house. Okay? Okay? So, again, the 4 parts. We need to write the introduction, the overview, and the body. So, just try now, try and write an introduction for the topic. Remember, it has to have the same meaning, but not the same language. Okay, guys, that's long enough. Now, I'm not going to ask you to read out your introductions to me. Don't worry. But I think this is something you could compare with each other after the class and see if your partner's is better, worse, the same as yours. Okay? Because, as I say, you've got 20 minutes to write this essay in the exam, and that's not a long time. So being able to paraphrase and do it very quickly will be a big advantage. Because once the introduction's out of the way, then you can concentrate on the data. So let's think about the overview now. Again, what's happening with all these things? What happens over the period? Maybe?
They increasing.
Yeah, they increase. Again, so the kind of thing is they all increase. So that is enough of the overview. Domestic access to all 4 items increases over the period. Or sorry, increased over the period. Because again, it's in the past. Okay? So let's look a bit more closely then. CD players. Domestic access to CD players. What happened there?
Gradually increase.
Yes, good. You say it gradually increased, that's the major trend, but how much did it increase? Because you've got 60% here, we have 80% here. You say it gradually increased by 20% over the period. There's a full sentence. Domestic access to CD players gradually increased by 60% over the period. So that's quite a long sentence. Okay? And if you write 5 more of those, that's an essay. But it's a good idea to add a bit more variety. Because, for example, which piece of technology, domestic access to which piece of technology increased the most? Yeah, exactly. Mobile phones. How much did that increase?
About 40%.
Exactly. Good. So it's a huge increase over a period of what? About 5 or 6 years. It's a very big increase. And also, notice what happened here. Just after about 1999. Domestic access to mobile phones and domestic access to home computers. At the beginning of the period, home computers were more popular. But in 1999, mobile phones became more popular. And by the end of the period, mobile phones are almost 20% more popular than home computers. Okay, guys? So I'm afraid, guys, we don't have time to go through all the details today. But I wanted to give an example, give you an example, and show you the kind of things you should be aware of. So we'll just finish off by looking at internet access. There's something different about internet access compared to the other 3. What is it?
Started from 1998.
Good. Okay. So it was only introduced in 1998. But what happened? How much did it increase? Around 30%. So again, that's a huge increase over a few short years. So, with that in mind, now we can think about the conclusion. Which again, remember, the conclusion is identifying the most important overall observation from analysis of the data. So, we start with the phrase, in conclusion, or, as it says here, overall. What do I want to say? What do they think is the most important observation? And again, guys, remember, with writing, there's no one correct answer. There isn't. There's a million correct answers. Okay? It's just different ways of writing. So, how can we say? Overall,
domestic access of modern technology is increasing.
good. Not is increasing.
Increased.
Yes, increased over the period.
Over.
Okay, good. But that was the same as the overview. So if you want to say something a bit different, you can say they all increased, but domestic access to mobile phones and internet access showed a much greater rate of increase. Okay? So as I say, guys, I think most of you have not taken the test before. Is that right? Okay, so this time I wanted to make you a bit more familiar with the kind of task. Those are the 4 parts of the essay you need to think about. Introductory sentence, overview, body with details and major trends, and concluding sentence. Those are the 4 parts. Please practice. Again and again and again and again. Okay? Writing the data, as I say, requires grammar of comparison and describing changes. So it's very important you learn those because they will come up in the grammar, in the writing task. All right, guys, thank you very much. Now, just sorry, before you all go, can I write down your names, the people, so we have a record of who attended? Okay. What's your name?
Daisuke.
Daisuke.
Furuichi.
Thank you. Koki Nakane?
Nakane,
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Okay.
Yuki Shimizu.
Yuki Shimizu, thank you.
Ichiko Uema.
Ichiko
Uema.
Uema.
U-E-M-A.
Thank you. Uema, thank you. Daiki Ueda. Thank you. Kazuo Tanaka. Thank you. Miki Fujiwara. Okay. And Yukari Deguchi. Is that D-E?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Okay, so thank you very much. If anyone's interested in staying for the next seminar, I believe it's the speaking seminar. Okay? Otherwise, thank you very much, and please enjoy the rest of the fair.